Hey guys, it's the Melblade 5. This time with even more unpopular opinions. The last one I did was the Smash Bros. Focus one back in January, but as the master of unpopular opinions, I still have plenty more. And now I have another couple of opinions I feel very strongly about to the point that I want to express them as a way of getting it out there. Because some of them are things that I've wanted to say for a long time, despite how much people will want to destroy me just for having these views. I know all too well there are people like that out there. Obviously from reading the title, unlike the last Unpopular Opinions video, this doesn't follow a specific theme. Just the biggest opinions I can think of right now that I know goes against the vast majority in which tons of people will disagree with me on them. As is the case with all of these videos, but I kind of have to say them every time to account for the possibility of some people not seeing the others before this one, these opinions are presented in no particular order. Only what I feel was the most sensible arrangement in regards to the overall presentation and flow of this video. Lastly, these are just opinions, and me acknowledging that they are unpopular is, in a way, me showing that I am not treating these as fact. Again, like I see some other people do. So once again, it's time to show how I do not fit into the normal crowd at all. Let's go. For the first of these opinions, and probably the shortest to explain, we go to the object that acts as your connection and influence to the virtual world. The controller. Something I often hear from things like Q&A videos on major upcoming games covered by all the big video game reviewers and publication companies is, does the game have HD rumble? Where, in the case that the answer is no, they always place it as a negative by using words such as unfortunately or making a minor complaint with it. Putting aside how I think HD rumble is a very minuscule feature in the grand scheme of things, where I don't know why it's sometimes considered a big deal, I actually don't like rumble features in games, period. The reason is purely because I find it uncomfortable. Just the way it feels on my hands when the controller rumbles doesn't feel good. It's kind of hard to describe exactly how awkward it feels when it happens, but it is something I find very off-putting. In a way, it sort of breaks my immersion with the game by having something that is physically nudging at my body in the real world. In cutscenes, and especially gameplay, it can get very distracting for me, and sometimes even make me lose focus for the brief period when it happens. So a lot of the time, I quickly find myself going into the options menu and turning off rumble if there is an option to do so. If it's a very small, light rumble, then I find it perfectly okay. I think Luigi's Mansion freeze rumbling when searching for booze is the best example of it, where it's more of a calming feel at first, and it progressively gets more violent as you get closer to the booze, so when I'm right next to it, I feel I've adjusted to the shaking. Even then, it didn't feel as violent as many other games I played. I remember one game I was playing, I honestly can't remember which, where during a cutscene there was an event like an earthquake going on, and I had the controller laying down beside me so I wouldn't accidentally skip the scene. The controller started rumbling so hard that it was moving. I was very glad that I wasn't holding it in that moment. Those violent, sudden ones are the ones I find the most uncomfortable. So if somebody says a game doesn't have HD rumble, then I would probably welcome it. Moving on, I get to an unpopular opinion that I have had for a very long time. I'm talking 5 years here. But I don't think I've ever said this before. If not, then it must have been very briefly. So I myself am surprised that I've never brought it up in any of these videos before. Many people praise Mario Kart 8's new tracks for their designs, themes, and utilization of the anti-gravity mechanic. However, there is one track in the game that doesn't get any of that. Its new Rainbow Road. Everybody says that this Rainbow Road sucks. I even remember back when the game came out, seeing many people even going as far as to call it the worst Rainbow Road in the series. With everyone who dislikes it adding on that the N64 Rainbow Road remake is so much better. It's like they intentionally put far more effort into that one. But I've always really liked this one ever since I first saw it. I wouldn't call it my favorite, and I myself probably prefers the N64 one's 8 remake a little bit more, mainly due to its visuals, but I still love this track's visuals as well. I like that they did something a bit different with this one by having it as part of a satellite where it's somewhat fused into the mechanical components of the satellite itself. I think it makes this one stand out more, whereas many of the other Rainbow Roads are just a random track that's floating in the sky or space, which makes them feel a little samey in a thematic sense. Not saying they're bad because of that, it's just I think having a one that feels more unique makes it more interesting. Even the actual gameplay of this track, I really enjoy. Honestly, that is in part to me being pretty good at this one, but I have fun on it, especially when taking advantage of the satellite's conveyor belts to gain extra speed. A common complaint I see with this Rainbow Road is that it's too easy, but I think it still has a great deal of challenge due to the anti-gravity mechanic. The tight turns combined with the boost you get from bumping into people in anti-gravity leads to a lot of falling off, something I've seen happen plenty of times. Lastly, there's the music. I love this track's music so much. It's my favorite music track in the game, and I hardly see anybody mention it. They just complain about the actual track. While this may not be the best Rainbow Road, I still hold it to a high regard and think it's nowhere near as bad as others make it out to be, and certainly is not the worst track. It's better than the SNES Rainbow Road in my opinion, at least. That one's probably one of my least favorite Mario Kart tracks, but that's another unpopular opinion in and of itself. For another Mario-related opinion, and this is almost a combination of the previous two segments, after the new update for Super Mario Maker 2, I sort of got back into the swing of making levels when previously I had gotten stuck when creating a WarioWare-themed level by making other levels which would include some of the new features. But then after hearing a common view I see about the game once again, it got me really thinking on how I'm the only person who feels this way about the subject. That being the game's controls. Reviewers and players appear to unanimously agree that it is far better to play the game undocked when it comes to creating levels, as the dock controls are slow, awkward, and cumbersome. When I got the game, even though it came with the special stylus due to having to pre-order it from game, I wanted to adapt and only play the game docked because I'm not a big fan of playing Switch games undocked. I find it a bit tricky to hold and it hurts my neck having to bend down to look at the screen. Plus, I was worried about marking the screen protector as it uses a more plasticky material compared to the Wii U gamepad. At first, I did find the dock controls awkward, but I quickly got the hang of them and think that they're perfectly fine for the most part. I'm not going to say it's better than playing it undocked because I haven't done so, but I don't think it's as bad as people claim. I imagine it would be faster undocked since you could use your finger or the stylus to draw the terrain, but I could achieve very similar results compared to the first game by using the control stick for the same purpose. The one thing I hate about the dock controls is navigating the sidebars, because that's something I do find extremely awkward no matter how long I played the game for. Rather than putting the cursor over the sidebar button, you have to use the D-pad to switch and then have to press the X button to switch back to editing the level itself. It always trips me up from time to time. Even then, once you're navigating the sidebars, I find it very awkward and inconsistent when changing sidebars, as sometimes it goes to the correct side or the top when I want to, and other times it doesn't. But there are moments where I do get the hang of it, so I don't find it completely unplayable. The only other thing is that I wish one trigger button was for copying and the other was for the multi-grab, rather than having to cycle through them, but that might also apply to undock play too. Overall, I find the dock controls reasonable enough to the point that I choose to use them over what is considered the much better alternative. Now heading over to another major Nintendo Switch release this year, Pokémon Sword and Shield. There is the whole National Dex controversy, and I did debate with myself on whether to get the game or not after seeing how lazy parts of the game look, and Game Freak lying on top of that, making me think it might not be worth it. But after seeing how well the game sold regardless, I just decided to get it anyway, because one more sale isn't going to make much difference at this point, and I still thought the gameplay itself looks fun. At the time of recording, I currently don't own Sword or Shield, but there is a strong opinion I've had ever since its reveal in the trailers that I've seen nobody else share. That being, I don't like Team Yell. Not one bit. As more information about the game came out, I was really excited to see what the new evil team would be. So upon Team Yell's reveal and seeing that they are literally just obnoxious fans of Marnie and nothing else, the amount of disappointment I felt was immeasurable. I honestly thought, is this seriously all they could think of? While I've not seen anybody say they like Team Yell, I haven't seen anyone say they dislike them. Rather, they all appear to be perfectly okay with them, and some even praise their concept for being an apparent representation of toxic fan bases. So I'm still counting this as an unpopular opinion. I liked how, starting with Gen 3, each generation's evil team became more serious, because I felt it made the plot more serious and have higher stakes to make things more interesting. So I found it so underwhelming to see that that role for Gen 8 has been filled by a bunch of brats who aren't even evil. Just disruptive at worst, severely dumbing it down. I had similar feelings about Team Skull back when they were revealed for Sun and Moon, but by the time the game came out, I started to like them because of how funny the grunts are, and at least with them, they were still bad by doing illegal things like stealing Pokemon. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing about Team Yell from what I've seen of them so far. They want Marnie to win the gym challenge, so they're disrupting the other challengers' progress. So evil! Why are they even so obsessed with Marnie in the first place? Does the average Galarian have a thing for goth girls or something? Cause Marnie has nothing to do with them. She doesn't even like them. In fact, I find the level of their obsession with Marnie to be very disturbing, which actually makes me uncomfortable. They dress like her, and the female grunts have what's almost a body pillow of her. If Marnie was a punk on a similar level to Guzma and was the leader, then I think I'd tolerate them a bit more. But even then, they appear to lack any level of comedy unlike the Team Skull grunts. Now, as I haven't played Sword or Shield yet, take this next statement with a grain of salt, but based on their reveal, I got the impression that the grunts would be obnoxious characters throughout, and would constantly get on my nerves. I did look up a little bit of their scenes without going into spoiler territory to help better formulate my views for this video, and from there they seemed kind of boring. Not annoying, but not funny either. So if that's what they're like instead, then I still don't have a high opinion of them. Plus, this is a minor complaint though, I don't like the name. Team Yell sounds really lame to me. It should have been Team Scream, because on top of rhyming, it sounds way more intimidating. I think that they should have been a generic trainer class instead of the evil team. Something like Marnie fan such and such, because I honestly see this as a major step back for bad guys in Pokemon. We went from the likes of people wanting to rule the world, wanting to destroy the universe and create a new one in its place, and even wanting to kill almost all life on Earth, to a bunch of annoying fans. Obviously, there will most likely be a twist, like in Sun and Moon, where they aren't the true bad guys, and there's actually a far more sinister organization who are the true villains, and I have a strong idea of who that might be. But it still really bugs me that they are the bad guys who get the team name, because it means they're being placed in the same league as Team Rocket, Galactic, and so on, who I think are far better antagonists. So on to another series, which is probably the series I have the greatest number of unpopular opinions on now that I think about it, Fire Emblem. It wasn't until making my list on the characters I want in Heroes that I realized how big this number likely is, with most of them being related to using a unit that no one else does. But for this next opinion, I'm going to be taking a different approach to discussing the unit. I'm talking about a unit's design, specifically Ike's. This correlates to something I heard related to Smash Bros. Ultimate. So in Brawl, Ike had his design from Path of Radiance. Then in Wii U and 3DS, they updated it to his Radiant Dawn design where he got super jacked. However, in Ultimate, he has both designs available as different costumes, but the Path of Radiance design is the default. The reason I've heard for why they did this is apparently the Japanese players hated the Radiant Dawn design, and ever since hearing this, I've gotten the impression that everybody seems to prefer the Path of Radiance design. But I'm the other way around. I like the Radiant Dawn design more. I just think Ike looks a lot cooler when he's so ripped, because it gives this tougher aura about him, which really gives a good feel of his strength. Like, you get the idea, I shouldn't mess with this guy, otherwise he will utterly destroy me. I also prefer Ike's clothes in this Radiant Dawn incarnation, as they too look tougher from having more armor and protective clothing. It really sells the point that Ike is more mature and battle-hardened, as I'm aware he is at the time of Radiant Dawn. I don't dislike the Path of Radiance design by any means, but upon first seeing the Radiant Dawn design when Ike was confirmed for Wii U and 3DS, I instantly took a liking to it and preferred it. Ironically though, I end up playing as the Path of Radiance design more in Ultimate, just cause I almost always play as the default since I find the alternate colors slightly off-putting. And because I think Ike's face looks really weird in his Radiant Dawn render. With an unpopular opinion on Ike, let me go on to another Fire Emblem character who has some similarities to him. Byleth. This time though, I'm not going to be talking about the design. Instead, I'll be discussing the voice. Yes, I am seriously going there. I don't want to be seen as capitalizing on controversy, but I do need to explain the background info in case anyone doesn't know, so I'll only go over the basics. Male Byleth was originally voiced by Chris Neosi. However, about a week prior to Free House's release, it was revealed that he had been emotionally abusive to a number of his ex-girlfriends and colleagues, which he admitted to in an apology message, as well as breaking his NDA on voicing Byleth. As such, Nintendo quickly replaced him with Zach Aguilar, because Koichi truly is a reliable guy, with his voice being patched into Heroes and later Free Houses via updates. In any case where a character has multiple voice actors, people are naturally going to compare them. For Heroes, I see the vast majority of people prefer Zach's voice because Chris's voice was very monotone for some reason.
The flow of time guided me here.
The flow of time guided me here.
However, in Free Houses, Chris's voice doesn't sound like he's doing a Batman impression, and the vast majority appear to prefer Chris here instead. Again, I'm the opposite. I prefer Zach's voice here as well. One important thing to note is that for this opinion, I am separating the art from the artist and judging purely based on the voices themselves, not who did the voices. It's not like I thought Chris's voice was bad, but Zach's voice showed me things that I didn't realize I wanted from Byleth until hearing it, which I greatly appreciated. The most common argument I hear for why people say Chris does the better voice is Byleth is a mercenary, so it makes sense for him to have a deeper voice. One thing I will critique Zach's performance on is that I do think he could have made the voice a little bit deeper, since I know he can do deep voices, but I think the softer voice he gives Byleth works much better overall. My only concern with the softer tone was that the critical quotes might not sound as cool, but he nailed them.
Here is something to believe in! Here is something to believe in!
While Byleth was a mercenary before becoming a teacher, he is only a few years older than the students. Even though Byleth's age is never stated, it is very easy to figure out that he's 20 years old. Therefore, I think the softer voice makes more sense for someone around that age. Byleth's job as a teacher further plays into why I prefer Zach's softer tone. Byleth quickly becomes the most popular teacher in the academy, where in hindsight, I think that would be harder to do if he had a much deeper voice. Because I imagine the deeper voice would make him appear more intimidating to the students, especially when they know he was a mercenary prior. So I get the idea that having a softer voice would make the students, particularly the shy ones, feel more at ease around him, which can act as why he becomes so popular. Furthermore, I like the way that Zach delivers his lines. The way he says some of them creates this air of mystery around him, which I think works perfectly with Byleth's character.
Such power dwells within.
Speaking of which, I personally think Zach's performance does a better job of reflecting Byleth's character. Chris's performance was great, but to me it felt a little more emotionless by comparison. Granted, part of Byleth's character is that he is mostly emotionless, but he's still capable of showing small bits of emotion here and there. And when hearing Zach's voice, I feel he does a better job of capturing those glimpses of emotion in those moments. It is unfortunate that they had to change Byleth's voice, as well as the circumstances around why, but admittedly, I think it led to better results. Now for the final opinion of this video, where I now go outside of the world of video games and head to the one place that my degenerate mind goes back to. JoJo! This wasn't how I envisioned myself discussing Golden Wind again, but wait, what are Mr. and Trish doing in this image? Anyway, there is one small aspect of the Golden Wind anime that I see a lot of people are passionately against. Yet, once again, my opinion is the complete opposite. That being related to our aspiring gang star, Giorno. In the manga, Giorno wears a blue suit with red ladybird brooches, but in the anime, it was changed to pink with blue brooches. It's safe to say that a lot of people weren't a fan of this change based on what I've heard, in addition to seeing images and videos that go out of their way to edit Giorno's colors back to his manga ones. However, I actually prefer Giorno's anime colors to quite a great extent, honestly, meaning everyone will now want to subject me to the torture dance. And yes, I am going to be debating on the clothes of a donut-haired 15-year-old who wears a suit with a heart-shaped chest window. especially when this is the same part that gave us the penis hat, the Swiss cheese suit, and the math skirt. I bet a lot of people will argue, well, you're anime only, so of course you'll prefer the anime colors since you saw them first. However, when I first discovered Part 5's existence, the only visual I saw was a GIF of Giorno's intro animation in All-Star Battle, which uses his manga colors as the default. So I already knew what Giorno looked like. Then I didn't see anything Part 5 related again until Giorno's teaser for the anime was released, where I got to see the pink suit. Initially, I was taken aback upon seeing it, but then I immediately thought, I prefer this actually. I just like how it looks more. It's as simple as that. I guess from watching JoJo, I find that the less sense something makes, it ends up making more sense, if anyone can understand that. I was already used to JoJo's bizarreness that I found a guy wearing bright pink with blue ladybird motif to be more normal. Plus, Giorno is already really weird to begin with, so I find this more fitting. From this debate over Giorno's colors, I came to learn that there are no official color schemes for the characters, as Araki would always give them different colors on the covers for artistic flair. That's why the anime changes the hue during intense moments. And from all the color schemes I've seen from this, I still like the pink suit the most. Heading away from Giorno, but still something connected to him, there's also the matter of Gold Experience's colors, as in the manga, its eyes and Ladybird's nipples are green, but for the anime, they were changed to purple. I haven't seen anyone who dislikes Gold Experience's anime colors, but I get the impression the manga colors are the preferred ones for most people, as I see them used in things like This Person Guesses JoJo Stands videos. Yeah, I also prefer the anime colors here. Now this one is to do with me seeing the anime version first, as while I knew about Gold Experience when I first discovered Part 5, I didn't know what it looked like until the anime, so I am far more used to the anime colors. But I still prefer them because I think the gold and purple blend together better, as well as another reason I didn't notice until later, but it makes me like the colors even more. When I see Gold Experience's anime colors, I see the gold, other than to fit the name, as referencing the world's appearance, and thus Giorno's relation to Dio, with the purple acknowledging Giorno's Joestar blood from Jonathan's body, as I've always associated purple with the Joestars and the series in general. Might not have been intentional, but it's what I like to think as it relates to what I love about Giorno's character. And I guess since people are likely gonna ask me about this anyway, I might as well cover this too. Just a heads up, there will be major spoilers for Golden Wind from here on, so if you only watch the dub or something, I suggest you stop watching. What do I think of Gold Experience Requiem's color schemes? This one has me really struggling to decide which one I like more. The manga gives it a more intense gold color that I feel gives it this sort of godly appearance, which I think does a better job of conveying how powerful Requiem is, intending to be the strongest stand and all. But I think the anime colors do a better job of showing that this is an evolved form of Gold Experience by using brighter colors that are closer to its standard counterpart. As otherwise, I think if I had seen manga Requiem before its anime reveal, I wouldn't have realized that's what it was. I can't make up my mind. If only there was some middle ground between the two colors, then I think it would capture both those aspects perfectly. I've always preferred the anime colors for JoJo characters, which is to do with not knowing their manga colors until later, but with Giorno, even knowing his manga appearance beforehand, I still prefer his anime version. And when it comes to his stand, there is a greater reason for it. But hey, after all the previous unpopular opinions, why should this be taken seriously at all?